I was talking to Braden Cameron's dad about an hour ago, and I said the highs are getting higher and the lows are getting lower. There's more space between them, and they're not as often, but we're starting to get things done. We cremated our son this morning. Just getting some closure and moving through the stages, I guess. I traveled up with Cal and Jackie Hobbs. Declan Hobbs, the starting goalie for the other team, actually. I jumped in with them, and just because we haven't played with Declan, and we're so close to their family, and pulled through Melford, and ambulance start flying by, and I pull up in the crash scene, and it was literally lights, labels, us, camrades, 6 cars in a row, just parents, just, and all within about 5 minutes of each other. Well, to backtrack a little bit, as we're driving through Melford, right at the intersection of the Gronlet Highway, Cal's phone rings, and it's on his Bluetooth, and so he hits Bluetooth, and it comes up as Declan Hobbs, and so Cal hits the Bluetooth or whatever, and Decky, right away you could hear there's panic in his voice, and he's like, "Dad, the game's been canceled, horrific bus accident, Humboldt's bus has been hit by a semi, there's no game tonight," and Cal's like, "Deck, Scott's in the car right now," and Deck just all of a sudden broke down. So we knew in Melford that something was wrong, and then we saw the ambulances go by. We got about 300 feet away, and policemen stopped us and told us we weren't allowed to go any further. And I was fortunate enough to play some junior hockey back in my days, and so I understood how buses generally work. The most senior veterans are at the back, works its way forward until you got the rookies at the front, and my son was a rookie, and I knew where he'd be sitting, and I saw the front of the bus was gone. So in my head, I knew he was gone right there. The only chance, I mean, it would have been, and it still, even, it was chaos. There was people further back in the bus that still died somehow, but everybody that died, everybody at the front of the bus, if they lived through it, they're probably the ones that are in the critical condition still. So I knew it wasn't good. Anyway, it wasn't good, but I knew as soon as I saw the bus that he was, in my head, I knew he was gone. Yeah, of course, Paul and I, and Cal was behind me, and Kurt Light was there, and we're all right at the edge of the policeman's truck, and we try and get around it, and he's like, "No, you guys, you can't go, we got to stop you here, there's casualties up there." And Paul and I, like, with our sons are right there, our sons are on that bus, we got to get there, and like, "No, sorry fellas, we can't let you go." And so everybody calms down a little bit, and we're standing there pacing back and forth, and Paul's like, "Well, what happened? Like, this is beautiful sunny day, there's no snow on the ground, what the hell happened?" And the police officer said, "Well, the semi drove through the stop sign," and he's saying for now that the sun was in his eyes. And both Paul and I look over our shoulder, and I can't speak for Paul, but I looked over my shoulder and saw where the sun was, and I said, "There's no chance that sun was in his eyes."
4:35, something like that?
No, by the time we got there, it was definitely 5:30, 5:40 maybe. Still, I had to look up and to my right, and the accident was there. So, my opinion, wasn't in his eyes. I mean, I have my opinion about what happened. We're going up to the crash site tomorrow. My whole family's driving up there because I've been the only one that's seen it so far. And I'm pretty sure that those opinions of mine will only become stronger. When it comes out, I'll certainly pay attention to it, but I'm not going to be watching for it every day.
You think that the truck driver ran the stop sign?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. He went right through that stop sign, didn't touch the brakes. We were told in the coroner's office that that he and the police at the church on Friday night said the exact same thing. He goes, I've been doing this a long time, and I've never seen a force of impact that happened at that scene. And the coroner said the same thing. That's unprecedented. He did not touch the brakes. He got a bit of a late start with the Broncos. He was fortunate enough to be drafted into the WHL and spent some time with the Kootenay Ice in their preseason and played their whole exhibition season with them before he got sent back to the SJHL. So he didn't get back to Humboldt until almost I think it was probably October by the time he got back, and it took him a while to find his legs. It took him a while to get comfortable, but he had a pretty average rookie year on the ice, but he certainly loved those boys. He absolutely loved those kids. Every time as parents, because Humboldt's only an hour away, we're like, hey bud, it's Super Bowl. They didn't practice. You got tomorrow off. Or you get practice late tomorrow. Come home for Super Bowl. We'll feed you. We'll watch the game together. And he's like, no, I'll stay with my teammates. And again at Easter, it's like, hey bud, come on at Easter. We got Easter supper. He's like, no, I'll be with my teammates. So they had a unique group of kids, I think, and some of the survivors, I think, have started telling their stories. And I know Strashniski has said that it was such a good group of kids. So he loved his teammates, absolutely loved those teammates.
And Evan was a multi-sport athlete. He excelled at baseball as well.
Yeah, he grew up playing both till the point where he couldn't play both anymore. Unfortunately, in this day and age, you got to choose. You can't be. Every sport expects you to be 24/7, 365 into that sport, right? But yeah, he was very fortunate to have a lot of fun in the Blue Jays zone. Great coaches, great teammates there. He went to a couple Western championships in Pee Wee and a couple Bantam national championships in Bantam, and great coaches, great experience.
He was a center in hockey, right? What position did he play in baseball?
Yeah, center was his favorite position. He played forward basically, and then in baseball he's usually up the middle somewhere. He's a bit of a late bloomer, and it took him a while to catch up vertically. So usually they put the littler guys in the middle of the infield, and that's where he spent most of his time. Second base, shortstop, center field. It's unbelievable. It's made it, I don't want to say easier, to know that we're part of a bigger community. Canada is such a warm place. Small town Saskatchewan is such a, when we were in Nipawin there, the way those people reacted and tried to do everything they could for us to help us out, it was just unbelievable. The hockey community, I've heard from almost every general manager in the Western Hockey League. I've heard from my good buddy Glenn Gulletson just texted me today. I've heard from hockey teams down in Ontario. Just, and all they do is cry. I played some junior hockey back in the day, and I was fortunate enough to play for Lauren Mulliken, and Lauren phoned me up Saturday or Sunday, and I literally picked up the phone, and all I heard was a man sobbing. I think we were on the phone together probably for 5 minutes. I think he got two words out. It was just both of him and me just bawling our eyes out, and it's affected hockey people so hard, because any Canadian who's ever played the game, any parent who's ever put their child on a bus probably realizes that could have been their son or daughter, could have been their child. I mean, it could have been any highway on any stretch road in any part of Canada. It could have happened. It was so random and so violent. And 2 weeks ago, our Pee Wee AA Kodiaks traveled that same road to play the Nipawin Northeast team in the Pee Wee North provincial championship, and could have been them 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's ripped the hearts out of so many people. I got emails and texts from people in Ontario that say, Scott, I've never met you, but this is my story, and people have to reach out. Those boys deserve every chance to fulfill they've worked so hard, and considering what the Nipawin Hawks were through. When we were in church in Nipawin, every one of the Nipawin Hawks players was there, and they were visibly shaken.
And this was the night of the bus crash.
The night of the bus crash. They put us in the church in Nipawin to wait, and every one of the Hawks players was there. Their coach was there. I mean, everyone was there. And so that team is, I don't know how they're going to carry through, but they have to carry through. So absolutely, they have to declare a champion. They have to give Nipawin a chance to, in my opinion, a chance to compete for that. I don't know how they'll do it, but they have to do it. And the game of hockey needs to move forward. My child was such a small piece of the big puzzle that he would absolutely be sitting here saying, and knowing my son and his sense of humor, he'd be like, guys, what are you making such a big production out of this for? Like, get on with life, just go play the game, right? So I hope that they proceed as normal, and it won't be normal, but I hope Estevan and Nipawin have a 7-game series and it comes down to overtime in Game 7, and it's some of the best hockey that people have ever seen. So that's my hope for how that plays out. Yeah, I said he's the kind of student that used to frustrate the hell out of his mother and me, because he'd come home and it's like, Bud, you got no homework today? And he's like, no, I did it all at school. And then we're like, yeah, whatever. But then he'd bring home his marks and it's 97s, 99s, 98s. His girlfriend tells us because he played the last 2 years down in Moose Jaw in grade 11 and 12, and some of the students in Moose Jaw would purposely just sit beside him in exams and hope that some of his brilliance kind of finds their way to them, right? So I've said before, he liked sports, he loved his teammates, but this athletic part of him was the smallest part of him. His contribution to the world was going to come from between his ears. And he was just starting to find his legs with that. And that's what's tragic about this for him.
And for you, too.
For us, too. And for so many other people. Anyone who he touched. It makes me feel honored for my son's memory, absolutely. We knew that Evan was spent a lot of his life in a rink, and when we first started tossing around the ideas of proper venues for him, there was a rink somewhere. We had to be in a rink. I understand Jacob Lights is in a rink out in Humboldt, and so we said, yeah, it's got to be in a rink. And then we started looking at some numbers of the possibilities of people that might be attending this, and we're like, well, there's really no facility other than SaskTel Center that can handle it. And
what sort of numbers are you expecting?
We're planning for 33,000, 3,500 people. So it's very fortunate to have access to the people at SaskTel Center through some of the people that I know through hockey world. The hockey world is so small. And I mean, the world in general is grieving, but the hockey world in specific is grieving. And right away, SaskTel Center just jumped up and said, absolutely, anything we can do. I mean, they've been so fabulous. I'd just like to invite everybody who feels that they've been affected by this to come to SaskTel Center. And we hope to, portray a message about my son clearly, but get a little bit of closure for everyone, and hopefully help everyone understand not why, because there was no why, but we hope that everybody will come away from that feeling a little bit better about themselves, because I think at some level, if there was a reason, that we can find it there. So just that we hope that memorial allows some of this community and anybody who feels like they were traumatized by it to come heal a little bit.